Okay,
It's fine with you guys. It actually works fine back here too.
Okay.
good. Got it. Does anyone have a question? Doesn't have to be a real question. It can be a bodhisattva question.
Well, I have a question.
Ah, I knew I could count on you.
Yeah. So, Tom was talking about or what I was thinking while he was talking, I should say, is kind of this search for meaning.
Mhm.
This search for that something, whatever that something is. And I often think that there's just no point to anything. There's really no point to the chanting. There's no point to the bowing. There's no point to the practice. I mean, I continue to, and I will continue to, despite my belief that, or this feeling that there just really isn't a point to this existence.
Mhm.
So, what is there a point? And I guess is the question. And what is that point?
Jung Sang Mu Bian So Wan Do. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. And there are three more vows, but I think that first one maybe answers the question. So we're all in this world together. We don't really understand this world. Scientists can describe all sorts of things, but what is it really? What is this? So some form of the great question motivates our practice. So what do we have here? Maybe 20 people all told? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Okay. 14 people. There's online though too. Okay, never mind. And we probably have as many people as are here. We probably have that many, however many they are, reasons for starting this practice. Some of us may have been quite desperate. Others may have simply been curious. Went into smiling. Was that it for you? You were just curious. That's okay. My motivation was I grew up a strict Catholic. I was educated by Sisters of Christian Charity for the first 9 years. 4 years of high school with Christian brothers, and 4 years of college with Jesuit priests. That's enough to do you in, And they really got to me. And maybe with the exception of 1 or 2 of the Jesuits, who were very sophisticated, all of these people, they struck me as really genuine, that they knew their direction in life. They knew what they had to do, as if they were given a mission from God. It's not easy becoming a nun. It's a very strict training. Christian brothers, they have their wine, I think, so maybe not so bad. And Jesuit priests are mostly intellectuals. So I had all of this exposure to religion, and then just stopped. As soon as I was out of college, had my BA, I stopped going to Mass, I stopped taking the sacraments, and part of the reason was the liturgy switched from Latin to English or some other native language. The Latin meant a lot to me, and it seemed that the whole religion had changed. And the music changed. We used to have Gregorian chant, and now we've got Elvis and the boys. So it was 4 or 5 years being completely non-religious. And then somehow I started to read, forget what my first Zen book was. You know what it was? I remember it was in the Raven bookstore in New Orleans. And it was Sun Nim's first book, Dropping Ashes on the Buddha. I saw that on the shelf. Oh, what is this? I had barely even heard of Zen until then. So I bought the book and I read it, and I had a new direction, in life. This is, the mid to late 60s, and there wasn't a lot of Zen centers around. There were certainly none in New Orleans. So I didn't do anything about it. And then I went to Austin, Texas for a PhD at the University of Texas. And there was some practice there. And I tried it out, and somehow it didn't work, but I still had that drive that I have to do this, but I didn't know how. And then many of you have probably heard the story how it finally all started. I was teaching here at the university, and in my second year, and finally I decided I would just put up a sign. Anybody want to sit Zen? And I reserved a room in the Department of Religious Studies. They were wide open then. And 3 or 4 people showed up, including one, Judith Reutemann. And so that's what it took. It took an awful lot over many, many years for me to find this practice. And, once I did, I just dove right in. And I imagine that many of you are in something like that situation. Like, are you ready to take the dive? Well, you certainly put your toe in the water by coming to this retreat. And it's my hope that all of you will, continue this practice. So the first vow is sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. That's a strong direction in life. All. How many lifetimes? What will it take to save all beings from suffering? What will it take just to save the people in this room, from suffering? So we all have to help as much as we can, do whatever we can. Carrie on the screen is looking at me as if I'm being too serious here. Yeah, maybe so, huh? But yeah, this is really serious business. Is it even right to take a vow, to recite that vow, without having the intention to dedicate your whole life to it? Yeah. Vows are pretty strong. Yeah. The second vow is delusions. That was the third translation of that word in the history of the quantum school of Zen. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. And cut through them. Maybe cut them off would be a better translation. So it's these delusions. We used to translate it as passions, but somehow we didn't like that. But yeah. Our minds are messed up in various ways, is how you maybe translate it. You know, that's a little too long for a translation. And we've got to cut through all of that. If we're not seeing things clearly, seeing this world clearly, how can we help? But all of our desires, passions, you know, if you will, preoccupations and whatnot, do get in the way. Not that we have to give up our lives and become monastics, but within the context of the lives and careers, if you want, that we have, we're going to try to be as clear as we can. So that's what that second vow means. We need that clarity of vision to see what's really what. And if it needs help, how can we help? So everyone here has made a decision to practice Zen. That's a good path in itself to fulfill that second vow. You know, to see things really clearly, see things as they really are, really see the suffering of the world. And the fourth vow, we make it our strong intention to become Buddha. So Buddha simply means awake. That's what the Sanskrit word means. We wake up both gradually and suddenly. I mean, ordinary sleep. Sometimes, maybe I'll get out of bed now, I don't know. You know, it takes a little while, but eventually you do it. Or alarm goes off, you jump out of bed, do 108 prostrations right away, only go straight. So how long will it take to become Buddha, you know, to really wake up? We don't know. And it's going to be different for every person, to some degree anyway. What would it be like if everyone in this room, within, say, the next 3 weeks, got enlightenment? How would your life change if you really, really began to see? Not saying that any of you don't see clearly now, but there's more to see. There's more to understand. That's why we practice meditation. It's not so much that we're trying to find answers as simply to see clearly. If you see clearly, you don't need an answer. You know what to do. So these are directions that our practice takes. Yes?
I'm not sure if you or anyone else can.
Oh, we need the
remember this
microphone.
particular poem.
No, we're not using microphones. He
Well,
just,
but is he going to be heard on
if he
Zoom?
speaks up, he will be.
Okay, just speak loud.
Yeah, I mean, there's a poem, I think, by Zen Master Hae Kwang that answers the question that Liz had about skepticism of this having any kind of life, having any kind of meaning.
Yeah.
And in the poem, I can only paraphrase it, but he says that life has no meaning, but we have this practice.
Yeah. What he says
And
is,
that's what you're saying right now.
I'm trying to say it, I guess.
You are saying it.
Yeah. So sometimes we say, no meaning is great meaning. What do you think that means? No meaning is great meaning. Any ideas? Yes.
That you can, so you talked earlier about how kind of knowledge is getting in the way of clear seeing.
Sometimes,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so when we project meaning onto our experience,
Yeah,
we're not clearly seeing it as it is.
yeah. I think that's all very true. Thank you very much. So seeing clearly leads to clear, compassionate action for at least the great majority of human beings. There are, unfortunately, some human beings who, in the words of Zen Master Sung San, their minds are broken. That's a phrase that he would use. Their minds are broken. And of course, there are all sorts of mental illnesses. Many are diagnosed and treated. Very many are not. So you might want to think of your least favorite politician in Europe, for instance. I won't name any names. There are several you might come up with. Of course, Netanyahu may be the current one. So our practice develops some kind of clarity, increasing clarity of vision and of understanding. And if we have any understanding, we see suffering. And our practice also establishes an open heart. And so we have, coming naturally from the practice that we do, an intention really to help in whatever way we can. But are we strong enough? So our practice also develops a strong center, clear mind, open heart, strong center. Try taking a fist and hitting yourself right in the center. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You hear all those reverberations from the strong centers? Yeah. Yeah. So are there any other questions? Yes.
What do you say to somebody who has a lot of regrets or feels like they've wasted years of our life?
You mean by practicing? Or what? What do you mean?
Well, maybe they don't practice, or maybe they do. I mean, what would you say to somebody who
Oh, somebody.
has a lot of regrets? And they,
Yeah, so you get to be maybe 50 and you realize you haven't done a damn thing worth a damn. Is that what you mean? Yeah. It's never too late to start. And the fact that you have realized this, I'm pretending you're the person, Charlie. The fact that you have realized this means that you can do something. So it's not realizing that at all that really brings about suffering, both for ourselves and for others. So I think because we are all here doing this practice, we have had some kind of understanding of what we have to do. And we all have different lives, different professions, move in different circles. So if we put all of our efforts together, imagine the people we could reach. So that's one function of sangha. We talked about sangha a little this morning. It means community. When Zen Master Sung San came to this country, his intention, of course, was to bring Korean Buddhism to this country. There were already quite a few Japanese teachers and Japanese centers, Zen centers. But he wanted to bring Korean Buddhism to this country, and he was tireless, in his pursuit of that goal. He was always traveling, always visiting a sangha. Of course, not only here, he went elsewhere as well, but his main efforts were in this country. And I'm trying to remember, we have what, about 30 Zen centers in this country now? Any of you know from the newsletter, you see all these lists of all these Zen centers. It's more than a few. So for me, this is very encouraging, that the United States of America can have, say, 30 Korean Zen centers and at least that many Japanese Zen centers and other forms of Buddhist practice. And so I would say that's a good start. I would also say that we are in the vanguard. I don't mean the Kansas Zen centers, number one, the best Zen center in the country. It's close, but maybe not, maybe not that the best. But myself, I'm really encouraged by the practice that takes place here. And we've been at it since 1978. So it's about time we got it together, but that persistence has been really important. And getting this building, getting it built was a major step forward. So we're doing our little bit here in Lawrence, Kansas. Let's see, can I use a swear word? It's often called Lawrence fucking Kansas, right? Of all places, here we are. I guess that's in the recording, huh, Liz? I don't know. Okay. We have time for one more question, if there is any, because we really do have to get back to practice if we're going to finish up.
I think there are 2 questions from people
Two
online.
questions. Carrie and Susie. Okay. Carrie?
Hi. So that look on my face earlier, that's just my resting serious face, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So, can you explain what is meant by delusions in that vow?
Yeah, it's a mistranslation, is what it is. For some reason, bonnet. So there are 2 Korean words, bon and ne, and together they make a compound. And it doesn't really mean delusions, but to put it in real colloquial terms, all the shit that gets in the way. No? You familiar with that? That's what bonnet means in colloquial English. And maybe delusions has part of that. I don't know. I forget how long we've been saying delusions, 15 or 20 years, I guess. And I fought for other, not the one I just told you, but for other possibilities. Carrie, you switched places. Hi. So that's what bonnet, that's my answer anyway to what is bonnet. All of that shit that we're always carrying around. So thank you for your question. And maybe there's one more. Yes, Lucy. Hi.
Hi. So I'm hoping you can put my mind to rest. I heard a comedian in Las Vegas a few years ago, and she was talking about this big awakening she had when she realized the problem between her and her husband was that she finally realized he didn't care. In particular, she was talking about he never corrected the kids when they threw food on the floor or if their hair was messy and stuff like that, and she's a comedian, so she was laughing about this, but for whatever reason, the word care got stuck in my head. And so in the context of what I've learned, I think I've learned in our practice is regarding attachments, and don't attach to anything, but the word care for me implies some kind of attachment for a particular outcome. But if we throw away caring, it doesn't seem to be the correct direction. So I'm hoping you can put this to rest for me so I can forget about the word care.
Okay, hey, forget about the word care, huh? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, this is why we have vows, you know, the 4 great vows I was just talking about. So if you replace care with something, you know, really intentional, like vow, that may be, you know, one way to go with solving your care linguistic problem. So care can be love. If you really care, then you love. The people you really care about are the people you love with all your heart. So maybe you can replace care with love. You think that would serve? It's okay? Yeah, okay. Thank you. So we are actually out of time.